Information is everywhere. But insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you'll be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
but as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles
mastering in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why BusinessDay Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, BusinessDay Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information is everywhere.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Luxury is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair. They play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And it not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay Television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think BusinessDay.
I know that BusinessDay Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think BusinessDay.
I know that BusinessDay Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Balata.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. It's such a lovely Wednesday morning right here in Lagos, and you're tuned into the Business Day Breakfast Show. My name is Elizabeth Musa.
And of course, I just to be honest, you always do. So I felt so just going to,
good morning, ladies.
Beautiful. That's what you say there.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
See you again.
Looking sharp on a Wednesday morning.
You
And we also have Deborah. Oh my God, I called you Deborah. Oh my
Don't
God.
worry. I mean, I'm sure you're able to pass me around. Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to see you this morning. And welcome Welcome back. Should we say welcome back?
You can say that again.
After a short break, but we're back, and it's good to be back.
I'm really, really glad. It's really a pleasure being back here again and to be able to do this with you. And I mean, it's all good. Thank you very much. And
Absolutely.
I think this is very good, a very good studio. I think I've seen this for the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. This is nice.
Yeah.
Quite
It's good
better.
to have you.
It's always really lovely. But we've got a really packed morning ahead of us this morning. Let's start with the news. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back. Still the Business Day television breakfast show, and this is the news. Let's see what's making the headlines this morning. Trade surplus jumps 341% to 7.5 trillion, and this is according to the NBS. Agri sector records 3.15% growth in GDP to 11.87 trillion. And petrol imports crash from 2 trillion naira to 87 billion naira. Federal government clears 700 billion naira contractor debt. Now let's begin the news as Nigeria recorded a strong improvement in its trade balance in the first quarter of 2026, with the trade surplus rising to 7.5 trillion naira, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS said total trade stood at 34.7 trillion naira during the period, with exports valued at 21.1 trillion naira and import at 13.6 trillion naira. Crude oil remained Nigeria's biggest export, while India emerged as the country's top export destination. China retained this position as Nigeria's largest source of imports. The report also showed that Nigeria's import bill declined sharply, helping to boost the country's overall trade surplus in the first quarter. And also, Nigeria's agricultural sector recorded a 3.1% year-on-year growth in the first quarter of 2026, with its contribution to real GDP rising to 11.8 trillion naira, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS said crop production remained the biggest driver of growth, contributing 8.9 trillion naira to the sector during the period. The livestock, forestry and fishing subsectors also recorded positive growth, with forestry posting the strongest increase amongst the three. Overall, agriculture contributed 23.16% to Nigeria's real GDP in the first quarter, although this was lower than the contributions recorded in the corresponding period of 2025 and the previous quarter. Meanwhile, Nigeria's spending on petrol imports plunged by more than 96% in Q1 of 2026, falling to 87.4 billion naira from the 2.27 trillion naira recorded a year earlier, and this is according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The sharp decline means petrol no longer ranks among Nigeria's top imported products, reflecting the major shift in the country's fuel supply pattern. Analysts attribute the development to rising domestic refining capacity, particularly from the Dangote Petroleum Refinery, which has significantly reduced dependence on imported fuel. The trend is expected to improve Nigeria's trade balance, ease pressure on foreign exchange, and strengthen the country's downstream petroleum sector. Now, to end the news, the federal government says it has processed more than 700 billion naira in verified payments owed to local contractors in recent months, including 436.6 billion naira disbursed in May. According to the Ministry of Finance, payments have been approved for more than 1,240 contractors across various ministries, departments, and agencies following a verification exercise. The ministry said contractors with verified claims of 100 million naira or less were prioritized, with the funds expected to support businesses, sustain jobs, and revive project execution. It added that the disbursements form part of efforts to clear outstanding obligations and strengthen confidence in public financial management. Well, that does it this morning on the Business Day Television Breakfast News. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Up next is the newspaper review. Do stay with us.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Luxury is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected terms.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching like things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay television.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Welcome back. This is still the Business Day television breakfast show, and this is the newspaper review segment of the show where we explore the major stories making headlines across the nation's newspapers. I'm your host, Elizabeth Musa, and with me, of course, is still Deborah Eze and Mohammed Akonji. We're going to analyze the headlines this morning. Of course, we'll start off with what we have on the Business Day. We'll probably go to the Guardian, to the Punch, Vanguard, and just scan across the dailies and see what we have on the front pages today. But we'll start off, as always, with the Business Day newspaper and see what we have on the front page of the Business Day newspaper this morning. Right, there you have it. Deborah, we see something on Business Day newspaper this morning.
All right, the big story on the Business Day newspaper reads how a $100 billion funding gap is forcing telecoms rivals to become partners. And that story is on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper. And also on the Business Day newspaper, we have Seplat Tabs Okon as CEO, positions Elumelu to lead next growth phase. And that is on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. And also Nigeria steps up Ebola defense with 10 billion Naira fund. And the writer to that story reads to intensify screening of passengers at airport, and also task force to be chaired by Femi Bajabiamila, that's the Chief of Staff to the President. And that is on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. And also finally on the Business Day newspaper this morning, it reads IMF warns Nigeria against reliance on hot money as foreign inflows surge. And the writer there reads funds warns against plan to borrow $5 billion from Abu Dhabi. And that is on page 20 of the Business Day newspaper.
I think what I'm even really curious about is the one on Nigeria stepping up Ebola defense with $10 billion Naira fund. Are we going to see, is this going to be, I mean, the last time we had Ebola, I must commend, the
federal and state government.
The federal and state government then, particularly the doctor then, Dr. Adadebo, for the work that she did at that time. And, but with 10 billion naira, is that enough?
Yeah, I think
It's dollars.
it's $10 billion.
$10 billion.
It's not $10 billion naira, actually.
Naira.
Oh, okay, for the Ebola.
$10 billion for the Ebola.
yes.
$100 billion was
for the telcom.
So the president announced that yesterday to ensure that we actually be able to beef up security. I can say that at this moment we are immune, we are a bit insulated, and the effort has actually been done in Uganda, in DR Congo, where it is ravaging, have tended to be able to taper down the prevalence of this particular virus, especially this new variant of Ebola that just emerged about 2 months ago. If you remember very well, before COVID, Ebola initially came around in 2013, 2014, 2015, when we had that in Africa. WHO has actually predicted how huge this particular variant of the disease is. But with the deaths that was actually recorded, I think about 300 plus or thereabouts in DR Congo and Uganda, we are seeing African countries stepping up efforts. And that's actually not even us on as well. To ensure that, most importantly, at our entry point into the country, because the contact tracing is still there. People that have actually contracted it, and then they have actually been able to be in touch with 1 or 2 people. I think efforts are being made in terms of quarantining them, isolating them, and ensure that it's actually not spreading. So when the president, through the chief of staff to the president, Benjamin Miller, announced that yesterday in terms of, so most of this particular fund will be directed at the airport, so to ensure that we have temperature testing, we have some of these basic health kits to ensure that people that are actually traveling in, especially from the East African region, DR Congo, Kenya, Uganda, they are tested before they actually find their way into the country. So I think this is actually a good move in the right direction. Effort needed to be done in that regard. But we've seen that in the last 1 week, the virulence, the spread, the surge of the Ebola has actually been able to go down a notch. Effort have been made in DR Congo themselves. They've been contained. I think there's that containment is there. But at the same time, we can't leave anything to chance. And that was what actually informed what the government did, by, floating of this amount yesterday and ensure that it's actually directed at our airport to ensure that people that are actually coming in are well tested, certified, before they're allowed to actually be able to mingle with the people.
Yeah, like what Lizzie asked. She asked if 10 billion are actually
I think it's because it's preemptive right now. Remember, we've not recorded any case here. So if you compare this to what was actually done when Justin Stephanie, the doctor that she mentioned, who died as a result of the outbreak that we had there. I think we are being proactive now rather than being reactive as it occurs then. We've had people that have come in now. So this is good thing about what we say prevention is better than cure. It is when we've actually had people that have contracted this. I'm sure this may not be enough. But at this point in time, it is better you prevent it than allow it to come in first. So this is quite more than enough to ensure we prevent it before we'll be talking about curative measures. We have to talk about that. But at least we are very sure that we have no case whatsoever. We are still at the level of where there's no infection yet, and has not come into our country. And all these are actually done to actually be able to fortify our entry point to ensure at least that's the next thing. I don't think we're not concerned about contact tracing. So the problem is really don't let people come in. People that have it, if they are coming in here, can they be quarantined? Can they be treated before they actually allow them to be able to mingle with the people?
Right. And speaking of the next phase of Nigeria's oil story, oil power sector, oil and gas sector, Seplat obviously taps Okon as CEO, taps Okon as CEO and positions Tony Elumelu to lead the next growth phase. For me, as a leader, Tony Elumelu is certainly one of the people that we truly respect.
Of course.
So seeing him, at the forefront of things, right now in Seplat's story, I'm really excited for what's next.
Yes. I mean, the whole story now, it's a cascading story of success and growth. You've seen Seplat there. You've seen his own energy outfit as well. Here's Holdings, and they're actually doing very well, especially with that particular partnership they have with Seplat. So these are big players, these are tested players, these are tested industry stakeholders who have actually been able to pay their dues in the industry, and now it's more or less like a time for them to be able to relax back and enjoy their growth. So if you see like Seplat now, just go and see them on the stock exchange, look at their quoted, look at their equity holdings. It's actually growing every day. So companies like Seplat, they are running to now. People are really smiling at the bank. One of the stories you read there was about the hot money. Yes, I'm serious. Just check here's listing yesterday. I was looking at that. Check Seplat. These are companies that actually are very positive. In fact, they've actually even beefed up the all-share index of the market in the last 1 week.
I wonder if any one of us on this set is smiling to the bank. It looks like Debbie's. She has this look like,
yes. No, I mean it's really a good time, and average time for investors, and most of them are really, yes, of course, the market is always a boom and bust cycle, but it's actually a boom period now. And we're seeing the oil players, the oil giants, actually taking a larger chunk, of what is going on. Telcom now has been steadying well as well. See Airtel yesterday, the way Airtel, they quoted in FTSE in London, and even in Nigerian stock exchange yesterday, the gain was very meteoric. And these are what companies are actually doing now, which is not unconnected to what you read about IMF story. I think there's an IMF story there as well. I like to connect it to about
what's Nigeria against the regions.
That's exactly where I said the market is a boom and bust cycle. The boom is there now. But also you have to be very careful about hot money. Hot money are just money that come in sake of returns, and they'll pull out when the return is no longer there. So they are not, we call them foreign portfolio investments. We are looking at, these are people you have to be careful about. As much as we are talking about attracting investment, look at the capital importation. I look at the trade surplus we were doing the storyline. The capital importation in the first quarter of the year jumped so high. The country has attracted between $10 to $20 billion in foreign investment. But the question would be, direct investment or portfolio investment? Direct investment is to be able to build factory that will employ people. Portfolio investment are talking about investors that are looking for returns. Thank you. These are hot money. They're just looking for returns. Where is the highest gain? Is in Nigeria. I put my money there in 1 month, in 2 months, and I pull out. So that may not be pro-growth, such kind of hot money, and that's why IMF is warning. So when we're having this $10 to $20 billion coming into the economy within this period, it's a good thing. But we get to be very careful as well to ensure that hot money are not good for growth. They are anathema to growth, and be very careful about them. But just like you said, that's what we're going to combine them with that surplus story. It is the positioning of that. It is really in the right frame. And then as Okon also coming in now as the GMD of the company, it is a right step in the right direction for Seplat. I will see what Seplat is actually doing. So I think now they're trying to indigenize, trying to be able to bring Nigerians on board.
No, but they've always indigenized. Yes, they've always.
So I think at the time we had as the IED was a white man, it was not Roger Brown. That was at the time, but now I think they've been positioning Okon now to take over as the new job. So I think that's what I was actually mentioning about.
I'm also trying not to be too when you look at the structure of Seplat as a company and all of that, I've seen how well, I'm trying not to tie it to the leadership, but I've seen how well they've done over the years. That's like one of the greatest places to work.
I mean,
so I don't know if it has anything to do with, you said Nigeria, because there's this thing about when we, so I just want to be honest, and at the same time,
I get a point.
There's a thing about when you just Nigerianize the entire place, and then I hope.
That's not your point. I hope. I don't think. Just like you said, there's Seplat too has operated in this environment, despite the challenges, the constrained businesses we're talking about. We still have some of them that are actually pulling their weight, pulling above the weight. And Seplat is actually one of them. Yeah, I know there's always this Nigerianization tendency.
And it's not even a good thing when we say things like this, but it's just unfortunate how things like this happen.
It's unfortunate. But we see businesses as well. So I why I beg to differ a little bit is look at South Africa. We see Nigerians that actually be able to do well as well. Nigerian businesses, where Nigerian culture, Nigerian business model, Nigerian business strategy are introduced and fits to the business, and some people are saying that as a threat. We just had the first batch of 1,000 Nigerians are coming in tonight from South Africa, and these are top business people. These are top guns who are able to bring Nigerian business model into their strategy, and they're doing very well. As a very threatened by that. So I don't think what I'm saying there, it doesn't mean that our Nigerianization base can be able to have, I think it's a double-edged sword. It has its good side, why there are also bad side to it. I remember at the time, just a quick one, one of the places I came before I was here, that's in the Odigos Business School, there's always that feeling that when the whites were there, when the Spanish were there, this is what company, this is what business.
Isn't it? That's what it is.
But to me, I felt like it's far-flung because maybe I was not there then, but I felt like Nigerians are managing it now, and it's actually a better stead.
No, they've already, there's nothing like it. There's nothing as good as laying a good foundation.
Okay.
So I would say that if you've laid a good foundation, unless I'm a crazy
Totally,
person,
now
if you're taking over a foundation that was already good, yours is just to
sustain it. Okay. So what I'm saying is, so you have people who maybe have tasted both, who have been there for years. I'll be telling them, this is what it was, and they won't feel like, because this is the standard anyway.
Yeah, but we have to move on now and see what we have on Guardian, because our big story on the Business Day paper will certainly be discussed on the big story at 10 a.m. Speaking about the $100 billion funding gap, which is forcing telecom rivals to begin to be partners, which is something we want to see. We've seen three telecom
operators
being at the forefront. We'll talk about MTN, Airtel, and then Glo. Yeah. So let's just see what the next couple of years will be like for the telecom space. So let's move on now and see what we have on the Guardian paper this morning. Now, that's the big story in the Guardian paper. It says households ration swap to charcoal as cooking gas records 67% spike. I think this is good news because I just bought a charcoal. A charcoal store going on here.
Is that the good news? Oh.
No, I'm just okay, if that's it, okay, I have charcoal stove, if that's it. But I'm just joking. But we have another story there on the top left-hand side of the Guardian this morning. It says that court rulings threaten 2027 election timetable, INEC warns. And that's still on the front page of the Guardian this morning. The next story that says IMF backs reforms, progress, and warns poverty, food insecurity may worsen. That's on the front page of the Guardian this morning. And of course, there's another story that says Senate to consider single term for president, governors after 2027 polls. And then you see smack in the middle of the Guardian, this one says renewed hope FCT, President Tinubu commissions Altera Road. Is that N5? N5, okay, so N5 is Obafemi Awolowo way from Life Camp Junction to RR3. Yeah, so he also goes on to say the Honorable Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Barrett, on behalf of, welcomes His Excellency President Bola.
You love my rap.
Well, that's what we have on the front page of the Guardian this morning.
But you know what strikes me in the front page of the Guardian? It's this the portrait picture that they used of Yeso Wike. Is that what Yeso Wike looks like?
Oh my God!
Well, I mean, that editor was doing a very good job at putting a very flattering, very flattering photo of him on the front page. But what do you guys think about this whole families moving to charcoal?
That's exactly.
Or you've not seen it happening?
It was 2,500 yesterday. I think last Monday it was 2,000 naira. And before you know it, its head was 2,400. As yesterday it was 2,500. How many people can actually afford
to buy a kilogram of that?
A kg.
I think that
is obviously the next, the alternative.
They explain about the gas rationing. They've tried to be able to tell us the reason why we're actually having a shortage in it, even though it's being produced locally. Don't forget to produce this locally. But the explanations have been there as a result of the Middle Eastern war. Is what is actually causing this, because it's now feeding into it now. Most of what we have is supposed to be able to pass through. Don't forget, 25% of the global gas supply pass through the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of oil passed through there, and that the effect of that. So the longer the war lingers, this is actually the kind of effect you'll be seeing. Actually, I've never even bought. I don't know, but I know the last time I bought was before the start of time, and I remember I bought 1,900. I didn't even even gone to that level. I thought it was even coming down, just like you're telling me now. Or charcoal is, but remember, there are environmental hazards. There are effects to these things. Gas is renewable, and it is actually less hazardous compared to, I'm talking about charcoal and other things. So the government, as much as possible, we're hearing that effort are being made to be able to ramp up production, because I know the problem now is just a demand-supply gap. Supply has actually shrunk quite, and demand is still high. How many people are using kerosene these days? So larger chunk of the household are actually using gas, and that is what people are trying to be able to ration with now to be able to move towards gas. Secondly, I think I want to talk about is what the Senate considered yesterday. When the Senate leader said that after the 2077 poll, there's a plan to return back to a single-term presidency of 6 years. They're going to debate it as 11 Senates. Not now. Maybe if they return back after the election of January 16, we'll see what they will do.
Do you think they can go back to that?
Well, I mean, he is proposing it. He's the Senate leader.
Do you see it as?
I think it's workable. Remember, there's a particular fundamental principle in law. They say laws are made for men, not meant for law. So if we feel like this law is no longer comfortable by us, it's no longer feasible, we are allowed to be able to change it. So whether it will fly is another question entirely. But I'm sure that this will be proposed at the floor of the House. The 11th Senate, we have to discuss that. I mean, this is 10 Senates. After the Senate, the 11th will come in by June 9 or thereabouts, a year from now. When they come on board and they are wiped on board, the first thing they need to want to talk about is, should we return back to that? So instead of all these political bickering and political jostling after every 4 years, and then, in fact, one of my friends always mentioned that in any politics, in any political administration, the first 2 years is for governance. The remaining 2 years politicking. You just have panel governance for politicking, even though maybe.
So now, if we get back to the single term of 6 years, what would that mean?
That means that once you do your one term, you leave, and then maybe we try to be able to introduce some regional balance into it to ensure that it can go around the 6 geopolitical zones. Yeah. Perhaps. Maybe they will do that so that it will be just like we said. There is no monopoly of expertise in one region. So concern about this region has been shortchanged, this region has been marginalized, could actually come in with that, by saying, can we be able to put it on a regional basis? If that is fine, eventually, that is discussed and debated and then signed into. The discussion of 6 years has already been on. In fact, I think we remember to also mention that that should be a good way to be able to go.
I think let's move quickly to the Punch paper this morning. Punch also has a tag of newspaper of the year, but yes. On the big story on the Punch this morning, it says post-primary chaos worsens as INEC fixes candidate submission deadline. This is on page 2 of the Punch paper. And still on the front page, we see that the road that was commissioned. But then on the top side of the Punch paper this morning says NAS will pass state police bill this week. This is according to the Senate leader. And still on the front page of the Punch on page 9 it says Nigeria's foreign debt to hit 872.6 billion after 2027 polls. Interesting. And of course, Elumelu appointed chairman of Seplat Energy. Those are the big stories on the top stories on the front page.
So I think just to be able to add that, the mention as well, the Senate leader, that hopefully we'll get state police. I think that is one of the burning issues in the country at the moment, because we've seen that the federal police cannot protect us again. We need to be able to decentralize police force. And so Senate will likely pass their own this week. We'll be waiting for the House of Reps before the harmonized bill will now be sent to the president. But of course, there are two main concerns I always have, my ladies. One is, can these state governors pay these people? Do they have enough resources to pay if we have police being managed by the states? That is one. And two, hope the governors will not weaponize them for their own purpose. I mean, that's just my word. I was never a party. I was never an advocate of state police. But until we've seen the heightened security now. Just for example, look at the case that happened in Oyo State before May 15. After the May 15, the Adelabu's family. The person that was responsible was a family member, a personal assistant to the family was responsible for the kidnapping. So, and because of ramping up of local securities, who knows the nooks and crannies of the place, were able to foil them. So, but I think it is good that we need to pass that now. As much as I don't support it, my two worries are just those. Hold the governors will not weaponize it for their own benefits. And secondly, we did have the money to pay. Now we're still battling with 7,000 minimum wage and there and every now and then. So that's, I think, a very important question that we need to ask. Secondly is about post-primary elections. Remember, all primaries have ended May 30th. Some parties conducted years after then. Some parties have taken INEC to court as well. Remember, YP and SDP took INEC to court about INEC does not have the power to fix dates of certain election to electoral timetables. Of course, the case has been appealed, but this is actually showing transparency in the work of INEC anyway, because to allow them to be able to plan ahead of January 16 election, certain time have to be sacrosanct. It's only when those time are sacrosanct that we can be able to plan. But now parties are taking them to court that what INEC is doing is violating the constitutional provisions. And then too is trying to be able to mention parties actually have until June ending to submit the list of their presidential, governorship, or their candidates exactly on their portal. The capacities are challenging INEC right now that they don't have the power to do that, or like they are violating. But INEC has the right to be able to fix guidelines. But maybe that's not the purpose of discussion today. But it's something that is very, very important because a lot of chaos. YP took them to court, they got a judgment. SDP also took INEC to court, and then there were questions about does INEC have the power, they don't have the power. Of course, INEC has appealed, as I've said, and we are waiting for the appeal. The judgment is next week, when that will likely come. Maybe they actually have the power to be able to do that or not. I think the other thing I wanted to quickly mention on Punch, I don't know if you can be able to remind me, I was trying to remember that.
The Nigeria's foreign debt
yes.
hit
After polls as well.
872.
Because remember what INEC actually requested for the amount, about 30% of the amount INEC will need for next year's election will be borrowed as well. They'll be borrowing. And that's what analysts are, that we are going to be having a mountain debt problem again. But remember that I still think we're still debt sustainable. We're still subject to debate out there. So, but it will likely get to that level when we get the funding that we're actually expecting to be able to prosecute the 2027 general election that INEC actually requested for. Remember, about 147 billion naira, 400 something billion naira, sorry, was what INEC requested to be able to conduct that. So I think that is also another big challenge that is actually in the works as we be able to move towards 2027.
Right.
So it's actually a very important period.
And real quick, can we see what we have on the Vanguard papers, David?
All right, the big story on the Vanguard, Nigeria moving in right direction, and that is coming from the federal government.
You laughed at
I'm
that.
sure, you always agree with the government.
You just laughed, I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't really read with some millions. Let's say doubts or with some concern.
The story unveils Tinubu's scorecard and defense reforms, and also highlights economic gains, 1 million student loan beneficiaries, tax reforms, anti-graft successes. Says it's prepared to be judged by evidence. And at the top of the Vanguard, we have, after rescue of 416 captives in Borno, 11 more kidnapped women regained freedom. That is good news right there. And still the IMF story. IMF counsels federal government against $5 billion UAE loan, 6 higher taxes. And reps summon service chiefs, finance minister over security spending.
And I think I'm coming to commend them for that. We expect the debrief yesterday. Don't forget, the last 12 years, defense has actually been taking the lion's share of our budget. So the question will actually be, because people have been complaining, oh, what have the government been funding them well? Has the Nigerian security been funded well?
I have an issue with that. If they've taken the large chunk of the budget, so why are we still having?
That's exactly why they're summoning them to come. So come and defend it. That's the question now. Let the Minister of Finance now, and the security chief, Christopher Musa, as well. Let come and defend what they've actually been doing. So what this money has been allowed 12 years now, I'm telling you, more than 50 years, sorry. If you go and check the budget year on year, without actually say, security, defense and security has been taking the largest chunk. In fact, other sectors that were affected, education, health, because we needed to be able to deal with this security problem. So the question is, let them come around, come and provide explanation as to how this money has been spent. I think it's actually very good.
We need to get that.
They should actually be, they'll be summoned anyway from next week. We need to see them there. Secondly, it's actually about what the government is doing well. And I know it's debatable because I can really be able to hear
that. Why should they be the ones to say they're doing well?
Okay, so what's here is first, this is June 12th, is around the corner. Don't forget, in 2 days' time now. So it's not as if it is I think it's deliberate. I don't think it is, it's just out of the blues that they mentioned that. Because yesterday, when the Secretary to the Federal Government of the Federation was actually reading out the achievement in the last 3 years, that was what informed us. Yesterday was the annual lecture to be able to commemorate June 12th Day. And it was from there, just like you read out, and I know, just like I said, it's subject to debate. I know on the macro farm, on the macro ground, macro, MA, the reforms are working. I know it's still subject to debate, as I said, and I understand. On the micro level, how it's filling our pockets, how it translates into our lives, there's still more to be done. And it would be good if you listen to it. He mentioned that yesterday.
Is it working?
I think so. What I'm saying here is, so that's what I'm saying. If you look at him yesterday, he said, they are not saying we are the El Dorado yet. That Nigeria is that El Dorado. No, that's not what they're saying. But they know that we are not where we're supposed to be. We are not where we were when they came in. Because there was a serious fiscal debacle. The country was almost in ruin and damnation before this government came on board. But how that can now translate into the pocket, and I understand. Nigerians have the right to be able to complain about that, because it's not about not just like Itu mentioned. Now statistics we go chop. That's what we're going to chop. We needed to be able to get the numbers. We needed to be able to let the people feel it. Thank you. It's the feeling that is there. But if you ask, student loan was there. The coastal vote for some of us actually that exists. Now they're talking about extending the blue line, the blue and the rail line further. They're talking about how much have actually been released for capital project as well. Some other place. So the man was actually reading them out yesterday to see, oh, these are what you've done. State governors' income, allocation to state has more than 3 times at what it was in 2023. So these are other things, but that just like we are holding government to ransom. Sorry, I don't want to call it ransom, maybe it's a very hard word. As much as we are putting government to accounts, thank you very much. Or state governors as well and local government. I think we need to also be able to call them to see what are they doing with those allocations they are getting. Your federal government needs to be able to account for us. Are we really holding the state and the local by the jugular as well to account for what they have actually received after subsidy has been removed?
And just a little bit of good news for me is the one from Borno State, which says that after rescue of 416 captives, 11 more.
Ngoshe as the
Is it good news? Bad news, actually.
Rescued. Of course, one thing is it's good news. It's good news. Sorry. They just rescued again. We saw what happened on Monday when 360, someone saying 416 were rescued by Nigerian soldiers. Of course, people are still asking questions. What actually happened? Did they engage them? Was the ransom paid? And they mentioned that, of course, 2 people died as a result of dehydration, and the commissioner for information said that. But I think what every Nigerian wants to see is, are we really winning this war against terror?
Let me ask you, do you think we're actually winning?
I may not say we're there yet. But I think,
are we winning the war?
Okay, so because I don't think it's not a yes or no answer like that. But I think we are
more
actually
being a politician.
What I'm saying is we can't say that we are. But what I'm saying, if you look at the numbers and you look at people that have been killed, as much as from these terrorists as well, close to about 1,400 of them has been killed this year alone. And then the other group that was actually responsible for the kidnapping they were chasing them from Sokoto, Mandina, what they call this particular mountain, from Zamfara and Sokoto, where they find their way in Oyo, and they try to be able to use that as a human shield. They are trying to be able to keep hostage taking is what they actually resort into now. So I know the government is putting in all the effort. Just like you are saying, money is being released to them. We cannot deny that fact. How has it been expended is what they need to be able to give an oversight and account for.
Right. On that note, let's see what we have on the cartoon of the day as we wrap up on the Business Day newspaper review segment of the Business Day breakfast show this morning. Now we see a very, sick. This man looks sick, right?
Very sick.
And then he's on a sick bed, right? And we see a pillar on the side. The pillar says, "Arise, our compatriots." Okay. And that's our compatriot on the sick bed. And then we see the legislators in is it a truck? Is it a truck? And then one person in the
that's a convertible car.
Convertible, nice. So
truck.
This one says they cry that there is insecurity, but look at them enjoying the cool city breeze. Someone that is on a supposed sick bed. They call it cool city breeze. Then the second man said, "Honorable, it is all politics if you ask me."
Politics.
And this did you see what they wrote? Lazy slate. That's more like lazy. So just a funny way to say, they're not actually real legislators. Obviously, that's his handwork.
And it's sad because this is the reality. This is the reality. Nigerian.
But is it the reality of the legislators? Do you think they are saying us?
Yeah. So because this cartoon is really realistic. Because how do you look at me on a sick bed and then you're like,
no, I'm just saying all these things. I'm saying somebody's enjoying
cool city breeze. What's cool
Life.
city breeze? I was out today coming to work and I was just like, nah, Lagos is, looking all around me, you can feel the hardship
people are going through.
So imagine me looking around and telling everybody, look at they're enjoying this cool breeze. There wasn't cool breeze this morning, and it rained. It was not cool.
Truthfully, there wasn't cool breeze.
It wasn't cool.
What is cool about
even when it rains? As it's raining, when it rains, it's even worse because the supposed breeze is coming with so much odor because of how dirty.
Okay, so my concern, and just to be able to put it there, is, so do we think the legislators are also having this feeling against Nigerians?
No.
That everything is good, Nigerians are just playing politics in their lives? Okay.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
That's what they think. That it's politics. We're just putting on the show.
That would be quite unfortunate.
You don't agree?
I
You're from Nigeria? Look at from the outside in.
At least you should know. Not outside here now, inside out.
You said that.
As much as possible, I watch, I follow the briefings on the floor of the House, both the Green and the Red Chamber, and we see that every now and then the debate always centered around how do we improve Nigerians' welfare, how Nigerians are suffering, and how much needed to be done to be able to improve their lives. So I don't see that they are seeing us as, oh, these people are in El Dorado. These people are in Cloud9. They're all enjoying life. Leave them alone.
Can I close with this?
Please do.
I'm going to give you 1 million naira at the end of the show. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you should not be able to. You
go through their documents. You see everything that they write on paper. But is the implementation working?
Okay.
You said, oh, the government is doing so much, but you know it's not reflecting the pocket of Nigerians. That's double standard for me. Why?
I mean, this 1 million naira at the end of the day,
exactly.
It's audio.
That is what the
government. What I'm saying is when does this money allocated, funds allocated, these are to be done, and then we're supposed to do them, and then this thing is actually not cascading down. I think, what do you think we're supposed to ask? So you there at the helms of affairs have said that, please, people in business, they should be given this 1 million. You give it to me, right? In your book, it has left your book, and I decided to be able to pocket everything without giving it to them. Don't you think also people need to be able to question me as well? Just like you will question me, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the budget, there's nothing in the budget that will say this amount is to go to the president purse for him to be spending alone. I don't think it's always like that. It's always like this should actually be directed to the people. Whether it now gets there, it's not to fish entirely.
Mo, we have to leave you here this morning. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio, Mohammed. And thank you to our viewers. That's where we will leave it this morning on the newspaper review segment. But up next is Business Morning with Deborah Azy. Do stay with us.
Information is everywhere. But insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
You're welcome back to the Breakfast Show. This is the Business Morning segment right here on Business Day Television. And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and economy. I am Deborah Eze, and it's great to have you with us. Now let's begin with the top news stories making the rounds in the world of business. The International Monetary Fund has cautioned Nigeria over plans to raise $5 billion through a total return swap arrangement with First Abu Dhabi Bank, warning that such financing structures are often opaque and carrying significant risk. The IMF's resident representative for Nigeria, Christian Ebeke, said the deal could expose the country to losses linked to falling asset values and currency depreciation. The fund noted that Nigeria has alternative funding options, including Eurobonds and concessional financing, and urged authorities to closely monitor the transaction. The IMF also projected Nigeria's economy to grow by 4.1% in 2026 and called for the continuation of ongoing reforms. And finally, the Debt Management Office has increased its Treasury bills issuance program for the second quarter of 2026 by 850 billion naira, raising the total planned offer to 4.8 trillion naira. The revised program more than doubles net new borrowing, reflecting the federal government's increased reliance on short-term domestic debt. Most of the additional borrowing has been concentrated in June, with the two remaining options now carrying offer sizes of 1 trillion naira each. Analysts say the larger issuances, along the central bank's aggressive liquidity mop-up operations, could influence market yields in the coming weeks. And still to come after the break, oil prices are falling again. What does it mean for the naira and Nigeria's economy? Just stay with us.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Life is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And it not only not yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on BusinessDay television.
Let's now move to our first conversation this morning. Global crude oil prices have once again come under pressure amid concerns over weakening demand, increased production for major oil-producing nations, and uncertainty in the global economy. For Nigeria, Africa's largest oil producer, fluctuations in oil prices often have far-reaching implications for government revenue, foreign exchange earnings, fiscal stability, and ultimately the value of the naira. And while the country has made efforts to diversify its economy and strengthen non-oil revenue sources, crude oil remains a critical pillar of economic activity. The big question now is whether Nigeria is better positioned to withstand another period of lower oil prices, or whether the economy remains vulnerable to development in the global energy market. And of course, to help us understand the implications, we're being joined by Samuel Oyekomi, is the Chief Research Officer at Norumbeja Financial Group. Good morning, Samuel. It's good to have you on the Business Morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go straight into it. Oil prices have been trending downwards in recent weeks. So what are the major global factors that are driving this decline?
I believe generally the movement in the crude oil market has been largely as a result of the war, right? Geopolitical tensions, especially between US, Iran, and Israel, and the volatility that we've seen in terms of prices has been how the direction of the negotiations has been so far. We've seen at some point where the US and then Iran they're getting to the table to have better terms in terms of their negotiations, and there seems to be progress in there. And of course, what that means is that there could be improved supply in the short to medium term. And of course, the market has now reacted to that. So again, generally, what has pretty much determined prices of crude in the last few months has been issues around the war between, of course, the three countries I mentioned.
All right. Historically, we know that falling oil prices have translated into economic challenges for Nigeria. So how exposed is Nigeria today compared to the previous oil prices downturns?
So when you look at the current happenings, right, I don't think a lower crude oil price right now is a bad thing for Nigeria. I think we need it. I think Nigerians would be crying to have crude oil prices lower because, of course, when you have it higher, it's a bittersweet story. Sweet in the sense that for the government side, fiscal revenue and all that, it becomes better. But the downside is also that it stokes high inflation, especially energy inflation, which we have been experiencing in the last few months. So having it lower is not bad, right? Before the war, crude oil prices had averaged around $65 to $70 per barrel, which is not too bad compared to for the Nigerian economy. So even if we have it at that point, I think it's still fine. Don't forget that we still have the OPEC Plus that still does the regulation around the supply and demand. Of course, we are still exposed to the crude oil market. But when you look at recent trade data, for example, that was released a couple of days ago, we could see some development in terms of our export values now. It has increased significantly, and most of them are not just crude anymore. In fact, the contribution of crude has dropped from about 71% to somewhere around 65%, and you're now seeing things around jet fuel being exported to other countries. And of course, thanks to the fact that we have Dangote Refinery now in the system, that is helping to have a better look at our foreign trade mix, which is good for the economy. So I think we are getting to a point whereby we would not be so much faced by what is happening in terms of global energy price, but slowing energy prices or slowing crude oil prices, to me, right now is not really a problem for us. I think we need it right now.
So Samuel, speak to us about what a sustained decline does in the crude oil prices. What does it mean for the Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and also the external reserves?
That we really require to ensure some level of stability in the Nigerian economy going forward, especially when in regards to price stability and also interest rate dynamics going forward.
All right, so how closely linked is the Naira's performance to the movement in the global oil prices? And I'm asking this because especially under the current foreign exchange framework that we have, so how closely linked is the Naira performance?
Yeah, so the Nigerian exchange rate market, of course, dealing with a fully floating system, willing buyer, willing seller approach. What that means is that prices or the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply. Of course, the demand side is a function of how much Nigerians are now importing or their demand for USD, either as a result to edge against naira volatility or to buy products from other countries. The other side is the supply, and one of the functions of that supply is crude oil receipts. So if crude oil prices are dropping, it means that we don't have as much FX inflows from that angle, and that could mount pressure on exchange rate. So yes, it is relatively linked. But again, when you distill that number very well in its actual sense, we've seen foreign portfolio investments to the tune of somewhere around 9 billion USD in Q1, quite significant, right? We're seeing diaspora remittances also improving significantly in recent time as a result of some of these reforms. One of that function, which is the crude oil part, has dropped, of course, with prices slowing down. But I don't see that having so much problem again, because don't forget that some of these are exports, our crude oil production, even in the futures, has been that they've had deals around borrowings, and they've used them as collateral for some of those borrowings in the past. So of course you might not necessarily be taking full value of the current rally or the recent rally that we've experienced in the crude oil market. So again, it just gives you an indication that while crude oil prices might be high, we might have not really benefited significantly as much as we would have, considering that our production is not really at par at 1.4 million barrels per day, and then many of those would have also been encumbered in some form of transactions for some loan deals. And then when you look at that, it just gives you an indication why one might not be so worried about declining oil prices. At least in the short term, we are still way above the threshold or the assumptions around the 2026 budget.
All right, we can both agree that we both know that the federal government's budget is benchmarked against specific oil price assumption. So at what point should policymakers become more concerned about revenue shortfalls?
Of course, for 2026 budget, the assumption is around $75 per barrel. Right now, we are trading around $91 a barrel, so we still have headroom of over $15 a barrel. So I think where Nigerians, or not Nigerians now, the government would start being worried is when you start seeing it falling below that benchmark or that threshold of $75 per barrel. And even for them, I don't think they would feel so much worried, because don't forget, for a large part of the first 6 months of the year, crude oil prices was trading around $100, $110, $120 at some point, and even now at 90, way above that assumption, which means that a prudent government would have quite a number of savings in the excess crude account, which can now use to serve as buffer if and when prices slow down below $75 that are in the benchmark. And again, when you look at the distribution of supply or the amount of oil that has passed through the Straits of Hormuz, right, you understand that even if the war is meant to stop now, that prices will not necessarily go back to pre-war, because a lot of supply has been hindered. So it's going to take a whole lot of restart or reoperations for most of those businesses, or most of those extractive businesses in those regions, for us to now start meeting the demand that has been hindered for a while. So prices will still remain elevated, in my view, for at least the short to medium term, even if the war is to stop anytime soon. So again, if I was going to be advising the government, I don't think there's anything to worry about. But it's also a function of how prudent they have been with the high oil prices that we've experienced in the last 3 to 4 months.
So away from the government finance now, what sector of the economy are likely to feel the impact of the lower oil prices most significantly?
So one of them would be oil and gas. Oil and gas has gained significantly from that oil rally that we saw in the last few months. A simple barometer would look at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The oil and gas index has gained over 110% year to date. But you've seen that in recent time, the last 2 weeks, that index has been shedding some of those percentages, and that's as a result of some of those downturn that we've seen in crude oil prices. So of course they're highly exposed to that, and they could suffer from that. Aside from that, the fiscal side, which is also a sector or public service, could suffer from revenue losses or decline in revenue. But like I mentioned, a prudent government would not worry about that. Other sectors, I do not think they would suffer. In fact, I think they would benefit from it, because lowering energy prices means lowering energy inflation. Lowering energy inflation means that the entire inflation basket that is attached to energy would also slow. And what that means is that people will buy more, revenue can increase for businesses, cost of production or cost of operation for businesses will reduce. The CBN, using their orthodox approach to monetary policy, can then eventually now start cutting interest rates, which is good for businesses that needs to borrow. Businesses can now access credit at a lower rate compared to what we have experienced in the last few years. So benefiting, I think most sectors will benefit, except for the likes of oil and gas, which I think they could also find a way to of course, manage the situation. And then fiscal side, which if they had been prudent, or if they are prudent, won't have anything to worry.
All right, before I let you go, Samuel, what is your outlook for oil prices over the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months? And what should businesses, investors, and also households be preparing for?
So when it comes to outlook for crude, pretty much is a function of this war, and really no one knows, because if you would know, that means I would need to be in the mind of Donald Trump to see how he wishes to handle. I feel he also wants this war to end, but again, there are a number of things at play. Ego is at play. He also has midterm elections coming up later in the year. He also needs to keep a brave face in the economy, in the U.S. economy, to also ensure that his position is also substantively solidified. So I think he would want to end the war, but with a negotiation that makes him look like a winner. But then at the end of the day, no one really knows what's going to happen. So whatever happens in that war determines what is going to play out in the oil market. But assuming that the war is to end in the next 1 to 2 months, what will happen is that gradually and slowly the prices of oil will revert back to their original averages, around $65 to $75. I think it's going to be somewhere around $80 all through the year, because of those hindrances when it comes to supply and unmet demands over time. But going away from that, I see them averaging around $65 to $70 per barrel, at least in the next 12 months. And then we start seeing the OPEC and OPEC Plus pretty much managing the dynamics of how they bring in supply into the market, and that then going forward to determine prices. For what businesses can do, of course, what we are dealing with right now, a number of businesses have to deal with high cost of operation. So businesses will now have to look at strategies at which they can reduce their cost. For those costs that are not necessary, right? If there's a way for you to avoid a cost, you should. I also feel like the worst of the energy crisis from the war is over, and what we would have is a period of stability, but of course in the high and at the up north in terms of high cost. So you don't have to front load your cost now with the expectation that there's going to be higher cost in the future. What you need to do is start positioning yourself for when those prices eventually drop, because I think they will drop. The war, while still going on, is not as intense as we had it at some point in March and early April. So businesses can start positioning for that. I think with that, it's all good. It's still the same business as usual for Nigeria. We still deal with quite a number of things around insecurity and lack of infrastructure, bad electricity and all that. So those remain the way they are, at least for the foreseeable future.
Amazing outlook, Samuel. Thank you so much for your time on the Business Morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're on to Samuel Oyekomi. Is a Chief Research Officer at Nuremberger Financial Group. And of course, still to come after the break, we have trade, technology, and growth, the next frontier for African businesses. Do stay with us.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. BusinessDay Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. BusinessDay Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins. Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
But as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends,
the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why BusinessDay Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable alarm, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, BusinessDay Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning. Let's now move to our second conversation this morning. And of course, joining us is Sanusi Ahmed. He's a trade expert. He's going to be taking us through trade, technology, and growth, the next frontier for African business. Good morning, Mr. Sanusi. It's good to have you on the Business Morning. All right, let's go straight into it. When we talk about trade, technology, and growth as Africa's next frontier, what does that mean in practical terms for businesses that are operating on the continent today? So Lucy, did you get my question? Okay, I think you should unmute your mic. You're muted. We're finding it hard to hear you.
Okay.
All right, perfect.
Can you get me now?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, basically, when you talk of the next frontier, is basically about the intersection of trade, technology, and innovations in Africa. Because basically, when you talk of trade, it's all about the integration of trade relations between different countries, different markets, and at this time, most of the conversation rallied around after Africa Free Continental Agreement and other agreement we have with the European Union, China, and the United States with AGOA. But what I most often comes into my mind is the preparedness of Africa, especially when it comes to policy security, because most often our biggest challenge is not the talent, is not the market, is not about even the technological concern. It's about policy. Before you know, we are making our policies inconsistent to an extent that you cannot build anything. And we all know that you cannot build successful relationship on the basis of nothing. And our policies again did not encourage businesses to say, okay, we are import-dependent continent, whereby small change in the forex affects our market and the survival of our people. And if a local competitor says that I want to cut off the dependence on certain thing, or I want to add value, let's say, for example, lithium. A business says that, okay, I want to be producing battery locally in Africa. Before you know, we start to have a lot of conflicts with a lot of agreement we have signed with European Union, with China, with United States. Especially things around tariffs, around dumping policies, and lots more. So we are inconsistent, and also the exchange rate. Even if you want to build a business or local competitiveness, when you have the talent, I mean, we have a young population in Africa. Even though their skills, the level of their skills is highly debatable, but still we have them in existence. And with the rightful environment, they can easily pick up. And second, the technology and innovation. If you talk of the technology, we are in an AI and robotics era. And in this era, the highest competition is about connectivity. Are you fit enough to connect with every part of the world digitally? Can you get access to Web3? Can you get access to even payment gateways? As we speak today, uh, I thought when the new minister of trade and industry were brought forward, I think that okay, she's young, she's exposed, and she has been in the presidential ecosystem handling businesses, know their concern. She will even think of how can we negotiate an access to gateway like Stripe and the bottlenecks we are facing with PayPal and a lot of bottlenecks we are facing with a lot of international payment platform. Even this WeChat Pay is a concern for a lot of Nigerians. And every now and then, the president or the presidency will say that they want to use technology or creative industry to take away, to create jobs for Nigerians. And these jobs cannot be created like this. If we have access to Stripe, there are a lot of platforms, creator platform, that they use only Stripe as a payment platform. Think of Substack. In Nigeria, we have amazing creators in the like of Salem King and so many, even all these brain jotters, they can use Substack to protect their creativity, to protect their IPs from piracy. But the challenge is, even if they create, they get the community, they get the payment, taking their more money out of Substack is a challenge because we don't have access to Stripe as Nigerians. Even all other technology gateways, we are talking of Pluta Wave, you can transfer across Africa. To be sincere with you, you are a business person, you can go and fact check it. Pluta Wave nobody can say Pluta Wave is reliable.
Yeah,
I can even talk of Seller.
The last time
Seller is more reliable. So
I remember the last time we had this conversation on trade, and we mentioned that the AFC, FTA, they were expected to unlock a new era of intra-African trade. So speak to us about how much progress has been made so far. This business is beginning to see tangible benefits.
So far, there is no much progress because a lot of African countries, even after ratification, there are a lot of customs and stamp duty bottlenecks, tariffs bottlenecks across Africa. Because it's very hard for you to take a product from Nigeria to Ghana. Of recent, I know the 001 of the business community in Nigeria and Africa, Mr. Aliko Dangote, have bring in narratives about how expensive it is to export to Ghana than to export from Spain to Nigeria. And it's just part of the bottlenecks. Not even talk of entering the DIFA Central Africa. There are a lot of smugglers trading from Nigeria to Cote d'Ivoire, to Congo Brazzaville, Rwanda, and they are doing this by road, not by air, not by any other. They are doing it by road. Every single day, every single week, truck left Nigeria to Congo Brazzaville. Even at the expense of war, we still export to those countries, but it's illegal. And the smugglers are facing a lot of bottlenecks. Imagine all these smugglers can be formalized. The Nigerian government will generate a lot of money, and all the extortion and pirate economy will be stripped away. So the progress is nowhere to be found. If for example, now, as a media outlet trying to pay your reporter in Rwanda or in Kenya, you may think of using a Momo, but still you can send the money and still face a challenge of the money will not be arriving for like 2 or 3 days. Or you'll be trying to send and the gateway is bringing challenge. And not even talk our challenge with money transfer operators.
So how?
Okay, today you say okay, we only receive.
How do you think
we don't send? So that payment.
So yeah, how do you think this African businesses? Because the challenge that you keep mentioning is the leverage to technology. So how do you think these businesses can actually leverage technology to be able to access this regional or international markets without necessarily having a physical presence in multiple countries?
that is already in existence. We have a lot of platforms that Nigerians are securing businesses, exports from around the world, from go for global business, Tradewheel, all these Indian marts, Alibaba, all this eBay. They get a lot of businesses, especially the mineral sector and agricultural sector. They get a lot of order from there, and the LC facilitation. Because all these challenges, the only way we can solve it is when the presidency, the foreign ministry, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Finance come together and says that whatever we are afraid, the answer is payment. Because if we have a transaction, I export a commodity for you to, let's say, Turkey, and I cannot receive my payment in time, that is a bottleneck for our business. And the challenge is not that there is no a lot of platforms to facilitate that. We don't have local alternatives that have international reach. So the international platforms, they don't want to deal with Nigeria because of a lot of policies and a lot of rules. And Nigeria is claiming to be doing this to protect terrorism financing and lots more. And even at this situation we don't know how terrorism is being financed. The insecurity is there and businesses are suffering. Why not we rethink again and say that, can we negotiate with a lot of these payment platforms to give Nigerian access? Because you look for creator economy, like this creator economy. If I can be on a Khan Academy or Coursera, I receive my payment seamlessly, why not can I not be giving lectures as a side hustle, as a university professor? As a side hustle, I'll be creating content on Coursera. But even if you create content on Coursera, receiving your payment is a problem. And not to even talk of the broadband issue, the connectivity issue. But the only answer is that these four ministries and the presidency come together and say, how can we take away all these bottlenecks and make our market quite open, in the sense that we have a seamless payment platform where people can receive money easily. But as it is today, there is large money laundering market created by a lot of businesses, especially traders in Nigeria, to make their business quite seamless. And they're not doing it intentionally because they want to hurt Nigeria.
Let's talk about infrastructure. We know that remains a major challenge. So to what extent do poor transportation networks, power shortages, and also logistics inefficiencies, to what extent do they continue to limit Africa's trade potential?
To an extent that we are not leveraging our full potential, and also we are not getting speedier, because in this era we are, with the help of technology, especially connectivity of internet, everything is speed. If you cannot have speed, you are negligible. So if you are doing business and I cannot get speed from you, is a problem for me. And Africa infrastructure, not to even talk of the telecommunication. Let's take it aside. Telecommunication is a disaster in Africa. And not even talk of the infrastructure, especially highway. I think you can prove me right. For how long we have been discussing Nigeria to Abidjan? For how long we have been discussing Nigeria to Libya, Algeria? All this is a road network that a lot of the African development during additional, the Afrexim Bank during Professor Benedict Oroma, all these conversations are there. But nothing has been on the ground, and it's affecting our businesses. And I tell you, for example, even at the worst of the war in Sudan, every week, a truck left Kano to Sudan, to Khartoum, and they are carrying commodities for Sudani queues. But if you talk to the drivers and tell you how they suffered, if you don't know how to travel around desert, it's a no-go for you. But imagine it's a good highway, that the Kampolo. And let's say you can from Nigeria. I tell you, we every week a lot of Nigerian exporting to Congo. Imagine we have a very good road, and you can just create a toll gate and be collecting money. Every country can create a toll gate and be collecting money, and the drivers and the companies will be too selfish to not give that toll gate. So the infrastructure, not from the highway to connectivity, telecommunication, then to even the software technology, the Web3 technology, and a lot of technical know-how of things. But the key infrastructure is we have issues on space, like spaces, commercial spaces. We have talk of the economic zones. I think the only economic zone that is active in Nigeria, I would just say Ogun. Even the Lagos, the Lekki, and the likes, if you check how they operate, it's inconsistent. There are a lot of governmental extortion going around, and all other economic zones in the country, they are questionable with their operations. So
Right,
if you check
Sanusi.
how all these things are going in Africa, or Senegal, or you go to Dakar, or you go to Morocco, there are a lot of challenges, and not even talk of another big disaster, which is caused by our inconsistency in policy, the migration challenges, whereby Nigerians are risking their life. Not only Nigerians, Ivorian, Ghanaians, Beninese, everybody in Africa is risking their life. Young people, they are risking their life to enter Europe. Why?
Sanusi,
Inconsistency
we
of policy.
understand that
If they see a very good policy whereby I can have access to this.
Many fear that Africa could become, merely a consumer of foreign technology rather than a creator of it. So what do you think the government, the educational institution, and even the private sector should do to build homegrown innovation ecosystems?
First thing is to make it youth friendly, because if they don't make our education system youth friendly, they don't make our businesses easier to operate, and they don't make government to make consistent policy that are friendly for both the employee and the employer, it's going to be a problem for us. And the easier thing is we should have a long-term plan, because if you don't have a long-term plan, imagine when the issue going on in the Senegal Parliament. Imagine what is going on in the South African Parliament. Imagine what is going on in the Egyptian Parliament. I think all these three countries I mention, they are powerhouse in Africa, and they are the custodian of the economic sovereignty of supremacy of Africa. And if you check what is going on there, is just challenges upon challenges brought by a lot of Chinese, Indians, and US interests group to make sure that they influence our local market and to make us not competitive to an extent that if you are to start a battery manufacturing business in Africa, you will face challenges. You will face challenges definitely. And the challenge is not coming out from outside, it's coming locally from your own people. And we don't have any arrangement to make sure that, okay, an industry that individual could not be able to start, why not government start such businesses? We do that with the NNPC, and now it's a public company. We do that with the Nigerian Mining Corporation. We do that with even Asset Management Company of Nigeria. And other businesses that Nigeria as a government started to practicalize and become a role model for a certain thing before the larger Nigerians pick up interest and get involved. And if you go to Kenya, I know you know about the plural crisis Kenyans are facing with their counterpart in Europe. And there is a clause that Kenyans blindly go and sign, and is bringing issue for their local people, their local farmers. And it's the same in South Africa. So we don't have consistency in policy. The minute a country or a European Union or any other collective come forward and said, we are giving you empowerment with certain money, or we are giving you a loan, our eye blind and we forget our own people, we collect the money and we brought in crisis. Think of the China. China built the African Union headquarters in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. Do you know at what cost? It will shock you. But as a group of countries, you cannot even raise the money to build a headquarters for African Union for us, for our own use. And still we are paying the dividend of China investment. And that is why China are having access to everywhere in Africa. So our government needs to come together with trade unions, especially the Chamber of Commerce, the manufacturers, and even the educational community. Let's say NUC, the NBTE, everybody come together. Let's rethink the system, especially how can we start producing people of the future? I mean, employers of the future, the workers of the future. And for the businesses, how can we create a favorable environment for you to build businesses, to build conglomerates? Not just say that, okay, only the Alikos and Boers of this world and the Otedolas can keep building. Otedola is not a business person, it's an investor. So if you go to all these people, you can see that the environment is not favorable. So how can we create a favorable environment whereby I can start a defense manufacturing company and not just, okay, I know you know the story of Terra Industries. They secure a fund and before you know, they realize Nigeria is not friendly for them. They run for their life and don't run with their money to take their business somewhere else. Maybe they will just be using Nigeria as a distribution hub.
Sadly, sir, I have to let you go now. Thank you so much for your insights on the Business Morning this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we're speaking to Musa Sanusi Ahmed, is the principal of Trade Media Company. And of course, thank you for joining us and staying with us. Today, we assessed the falling crude oil prices, what it could mean for Nigeria's economy, and also explored how trade and technology are shaping the next phase of growth for African businesses. And that's all for Business Morning today. My name is Deborah Eze. And up next is the big story anchored by Elizabeth Musa. Do stay with us.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses. We're telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you'll be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and you know.
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. I mean, by eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and, start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable allow, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Life is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected terms.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
and real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on Business Day television.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
Hello and welcome to the big story right here on Business Day Television. I am Elizabeth Musa. For years, Africa's telecom operators competed by building their own towers, fiber networks and infrastructure. But with an estimated $100 billion digital infrastructure funding gap and growing demand for broadband, 5G, AI and cloud services, that model is becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. Today, some of the continent's biggest telecom rivals are choosing collaboration over competition through infrastructure sharing agreement and strategic partnerships aimed at reducing costs and accelerating digital access. But as collaboration grows, questions remain about competition, regulation, and whether shared infrastructure can truly help choose Africa's digital divide. To discuss this and so much more this morning, I'm joined by technology analyst, Mr. Jide Awe. Thank you for joining the show, Mr. Awe.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to start by talking about Africa's telecom sector, which has traditionally been highly competitive. What are some of the factors you would say are driving this shift from rivalry to collaboration amongst operators?
Well, basically, it's market driven. The costs are enormous. You know, with the way telecom infrastructure is going, which requires investments in 5G, in data centers, in fiber, the costs are enormous. And for many of these telecom operators, it's becoming more difficult for them to break even and even have significant profit. So it's market driven. There is a lot of competition, but at the same time, they can reduce some of their costs, and that's why they are gearing towards a collaboration now in in certain areas, not in all areas, but in certain areas, to try to reduce their costs so that they can be more.
Right, and as we see, we are also seeing that industry estimates put Africa's digital infrastructure funding gap to about $100 billion. How serious will you say this challenge is, and what does this mean for our continent's digital ambitions?
It's very serious because it shows you that we don't have sufficient infrastructure. Because you see, if you really want to have a digital country and digital continent, and you really want to compete with the rest of the world, your people must have access to digital technologies. They must have access to telecom infrastructure. And that is showing that $100 billion. I don't know how they came about the figure, but I know that it's part of it's something that needs to be closed because and when you look at that $100 billion, in my own estimation, I believe it's not just infrastructure, but also there are a lot of inefficiencies associated with everybody, every telecom operator owning their own equipment, owning their own infrastructure. And some other issues too, in terms of even the government, the regulatory agencies too. That's why you have that kind of huge amount. And you see, if you don't resolve it, a lot of people are going to be left out of the digital loop, left out of digital revolution, and not able to actually realize their potential and contribute to this digital economy that we have. So many people will still be left out, and we won't be competitive as economies in Africa to compete with the economies in the West and in the East.
So, Mr. Awe, would you say that this, this increasing embrace for infrastructure sharing, would you say it's primarily a response to financial pressures, or do you think that it represents something more fundamental, a fundamental transformation of the telecom business model?
I would say it's a combination of both. It's definitely financial, because when you look at the cost of implementing 5G, data centers, fiber, it's huge. So why should you continue doing everything? Why should an operator continue doing everything like like the dig once policy that is now being introduced? Why should every operator wants to lay cables and then they must all dig afresh? You understand? So some of these are commonsensical things that make market sense as well. That you can have common things that you can share, common platforms and areas that you can share, while trying to still remain competitive. Then it's also a model, this can become the kind of a model that is being used globally now in terms of the telecom provision model. That telecom operators should move away. They should become more asset light, move away from acquiring all the different assets and have systems, avenues through which they can share. All of them can share resources, certain resources, not everything, but certain things that are common to each of them, while still retaining their competitive edge.
Mr. Awe, just before we move, can you please turn on your video? We happen not to be getting your video anymore, so if you could please turn on your video. But then we've also seen that Nigeria has witnessed partnerships involving infrastructure sharing and national roaming agreements. What impact could this agreement, have on network coverage, on service quality, and consumer access?
It will definitely help. It will definitely help because now the platforms, the operators will have more resources left to focus on improving their service, improving their innovative abilities and things like that, and improving their quality. So it will definitely help in reducing the kind of investment they need to make for infrastructure if there is more sharing, if there is more cooperation. But definitely there should be some regulations to make sure that there is still competitiveness and to make sure that it doesn't degenerate into a monopolistic environment where some people just take over everything. And I'm sorry, I don't know what is happening. My camera is on, so I don't know why you can't see the camera.
Right, that's fine, Mr. Awe, thank you. Speaking about operators themselves, you also, we can see you now. We talked about operators, right? So let's talk about what has happened over the years. We've seen that for years, we've seen operators building, separate towers and fiber networks which serve the same areas. Would you say that infrastructure duplication has become economically unsustainable in today's market?
Travel is highly unsustainable. And, I'm sure you're aware that there is going to be a telecom review of the policy, and that these are one of the critical things they want to put into the. I believe that should be in the new telecom, in the review of the telecom policy, to encourage infrastructure sharing. Because when you encourage infrastructure sharing, it gives the telecom operators more resources to focus on the critical areas that are important to customers, like service delivery, like more innovative products and services and things like that. You understand? So that they don't really, they are asset light. That's the tendency right now globally. That the telecom operators should be more asset light and focus on innovation, focus on service delivery, improving services, competitiveness. That's where they can compete. But competing in terms of I have a tower, you two have a tower, it doesn't make any sense. Let's share resources. Let's share infrastructure platforms.
And we're also seeing there's something quite interesting that we continue to see, which is the growing support for treating telecom infrastructure more like a public utility. Well, that's for you to say though. But where multiple operators we see they're making use of the shared asset, treating this infrastructure like public utility. How practical is this approach in the African context? Because I think it's really important for us to always put it in the African context against, just the Western markets themselves.
Well, the thing is that, before you embark on something like this, there must be rules in place. There must be regulations in place. And that's why I said that, this new policy that's been reviewed, we need to, put these things in place so that, people will cooperate. Because even the telecom operators themselves, before they invest in that kind of model, I'm sure they want to be informed about the kind of rules and the kind of operation how it's going to operate, because it's also an investment. Yes, you are reducing your investment by not buying all your towers yourself and not buying certain infrastructure yourself. But as you are sharing now, there must be certain rules. Who owns? Is it going to be an ownership by one operator, or is it going to be joint ownership by all the operators that are sharing? You understand? And then what is the government doing exactly as well in terms of encouraging this kind of practice? You understand? So these are the things that, because there are best practices associated as well. So that you don't have a situation where the person who owns it, like maybe there's an operator who is the one that is providing the service, having done it first, doesn't become a monopoly and doesn't unduly strangulate other operators that want to share out of that resource that they want to also use to offer their services. So it's something that you do your due diligence as an operator, and also the regulatory authorities need to make sure that there are certain rules and regulations when you want to practice this kind of thing.
Right, and we're also seeing that the push for infrastructure sharing is also sort of renewing conversations around a nationwide dig once policy and projects which are aimed at expanding fiber connectivity. So how important are these initiatives to Nigeria's broadband future?
They're absolutely important, because you see, like I said before, there is something fundamental about the digital economy, which is that you don't really have a digital economy if it's limited to the urban areas, if it's limited to allies. You understand? If it's limited, you have a lot of areas that are still not yet been covered. You understand? And if you have policies like dig once means that it reduces the cost of operators laying their cables. So once they have dug once, they don't need to keep on. An operator doesn't need to come again and dig again. Another operator doesn't need to come again and dig again. You can imagine the cost that is being saved, and that cost saving will now be transferred to the consumers. And when there is cost saving transferred to the consumers, the operators themselves can expand their operations. They can now go to more of the rural areas. They can now do more than what they are doing at present, and they can reduce their costs as well, which hopefully will be transferred to the consumer in terms of reducing the cost of data as well. Now, when you reduce the cost of data, what does that mean? That means more people are able to access the internet. More people are able to be digitally included, because you cannot really have a real digital economy that serves the nation if majority of people are still digitally excluded.
Ms. Awe, we spoke earlier about infrastructure, but I want us to go beyond infrastructure. Many Africans we see are still remaining offline despite, the fact that we have areas where, of course, there's internet. So why are we still seeing this? Why are we seeing this continuation where Nigerians are still, offline, despite the fact that they are living within network coverage areas? To what extent is affordability now a bigger challenge than connectivity itself?
Affordability is critical because if you provide infrastructure and people cannot access that infrastructure, what's the point? You understand? People must, affordability is critical. I don't know if you have heard about the GSMA $40 phone. I think Nigeria is one of the signatories, one of the people that are going to participate in it. So they are trying to bring down the cost of the mobile phone. You understand? So that more people can have access to mobile phones and not just keeping, ordinary mobile phones that can help them with access to internet, to do a lot of transactions, digital participation. You understand? So you cannot have real digital participation if you just have infrastructure. You also have to talk of things like even digital literacy. People must have the skills to be able to access these things, because there is no point if you have access to these things and then you don't even have ability to use them. You understand?
Right. I like how we've been moving. We talked about infrastructure.
Because that's essentially the aim of digital inclusion.
Right. We've talked about now you've added digital inclusion, right? We've moved from infrastructure, connectivity, digital inclusion, which is really important, because as we talk about financial inclusion, we also need to speak about digital inclusion itself. But we also need to, just based on the conversation, the subject matter itself, where we talked about collaboration and how, this $100 billion funding gap is sort of creating some sort of collaboration within the telecom sector. But while we understand that this collaboration may reduce costs and perhaps accelerate investment, some observers are worrying that it could weaken competition and strengthen dominant players. Are these concerns justified?
They are justified. They are justified, but you see, that's why you have to have innovative regulators. Your regulators in African countries must understand these issues and make sure that there are rules in place so that nobody dominates. I mentioned earlier, it's like in big ones. Somebody dog once. Because you dog once does not mean that you must not dominate every other person that wants to use the channel that you have dug. You understand? So there have to be rules. There have to be, so that there is still competitiveness, so that there is still competition, so that you don't have a monopoly. Those have to be in place. That is part of innovative regulation. You have to examine the situation. Even if you allow it to play out, you come and review it after 3 months. After 3 months, after a period of time, and you discover that what is happening is that one operator is just being dominant and trying to frustrate other operators, or minimizing the opportunities of other operators because they are in charge of the channel. Then you have to do something about it. You have to look at the policies. That's where innovative regulation comes. You have to be adaptive as a regulator. You don't just sit down and say this policy looks good, you churn it out, but you must also be checking on it. And even before you bring it out, you also address these kind of issues, because you expect that there could be tendencies for abuse.
Mr. Aware, I need to let you have your parting shot now. So as we look ahead, do you believe that strategic partnerships will define the next phase of Africa's telecom industry? And what must this government, regulators, the operators, what must they do to ensure that the benefits reach the consumers?
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I believe that strategic partnership, there is no alternative to it, but you see, what you partner on is you partner on, the infrastructure, things like infrastructure. Then you can be competitive on innovative services, on digital services. That should be the way forward. Innovation. You can be competitive, offer different things, bring in different products and services that maybe your competitor is not bringing out. But in terms of infrastructure, every operator should be asset light. There should be cooperation. There should be partnership in that area. It should not be an area of competitiveness so much anymore. There should be partnership in that area. And what the government needs to do is to create an environment that encourages it, either through the policies or through some of their regulatory measures, to encourage it in a spirit of fairness, in a spirit of innovation, in a spirit of, making sure that nobody is being cheated. And at the end of the day, realizing that the ultimate aim is the fundamental right of citizens to digital inclusion. You understand? So that people are included. So everything that you are doing, you are not doing all this sharing of infrastructure for the sake of sharing of infrastructure, but you want to increase the digital inclusion. You want to close the digital divide. You want more people to be part of the digital revolution, so that Nigeria can actually be transformed and become a really, truly digital nation where everybody, not just a few, have access to digital opportunities and are able to fully participate and realize their potential in the digital economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jide Awe, for your concise and very structured addition to our big story this morning. Thank you so much. And that's why we leave it this morning on the big story. We examine whether collaboration can truly help bridge Africa's infrastructure gap. Thank you for joining us. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Up next is Social Listening. Do stay with us.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
for many years we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond. From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture. Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses. We're telling the stories behind there. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Life is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw. I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on Business Day television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musa.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
If it's sparking conversations, then we're bringing it right to your doorstep. Welcome to the social listening segment, where we're bringing you the stories, debates, and moments generating conversations across social media. My name is Elizabeth Musa. Now let's get into what's making the rounds on social media this morning. First up on the trend table is Abia State Governor Alex Oti, who says his administration is working towards providing 24-hour electricity supply by gradually taking the state off Nigeria's national grid. Now we have a video of Alex Oti speaking to this. We'll just check it out and then we're back.
The regulatory agency, and what we want to do is to have control of power in our own hands. We believe that geometric at maximum capacity of 188 megawatts would have excess capacity, and we can just wheel it to Umuahia and other parts of the state. And by God's grace, in a few years, we should also guarantee 24-hour power supply in Umuahia and other local governments.
Isn't it? I think that deserves a round of applause, absolutely. And one thing he also said was that the state has also established its own electricity regulatory agency, which is part of efforts to achieve electricity independence. Now, this move has sparked conversations. I will check out some of these reactions online. Can't wait to see what Nigerians are saying about this one. This is some of the reactions on social media right now. But I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to see what netizens are saying about this one. Take a look at that first tweet. That one is from TN. TN says, a man's height is indeed measured from the neck upwards. Dear Governor, we're so proud of your show working. Well done, sir. Absolutely. Chukwuemeka says, this man is not human. If he is even human, I don't think he is Nigerian. Nigerian politicians don't talk like this. Dr. Alex Otti will rule Abia State for 60 years. Johnson Champi says, my Edo people try relate. A governor taking his time to tell investors of his intentions for his state, what he's done over 3 years and what he intends to achieve in another 3 years. And you say good governance is abstract? Thunder locates. Education is not a scam. This person is actually making a solid statement there. But I must actually commend Governor Alex Otti of Abia State. You know, has put Abia State's citizens, you know, the people of Abia State in this little paradise. Sometimes I speak to friends from Abia State and it seems like they feel a little bit disassociated from what's going on in the world. And I don't blame them actually, because things are going a little great on that end. And I must really commend the Governor Alex Otti. You know, those comments that we saw online certainly speak to what the people feel. And it's really lovely to see a governor like that in Nigeria, especially with things happening right now in the country. You know, we are seeing really selfish politicians, really selfish people in positions of authority. But having someone like Governor Alex Otti, you know, being in that forefront, you are happy to have a leader like that, a leader that cares about the people, a leader that is constantly looking for ways to make life easier for the people. That's certainly a leader that people want to see for 60 years, not someone that, you know, doesn't even care, and then you're trying to get in for the second year. But this is not a job to anyone, but it's just what's happening. So well done to Governor Alex Otti, and we hope that we see more governors, you know, across the 36 states of Nigeria also towing the same line. Well, let's move on now and see some of our next conversation this morning, which is gaining traction, which is it's quite bizarre. We're seeing videos which have surfaced of suspected bandits hosting live sessions and offering cash as giveaway to viewers and followers. Now, several reports have shown that multiple Nigerians have flooded the comment section with their account details in hopes of receiving money. And you know, that makes me pause for a bit when I'm saying to myself that we are complaining of banditry and we are seeing a bizarre trend where these bandits are now feeling really bold to host live sessions and they're offering cash giveaway. And the people that are supposed to be calling out this are obviously putting out their account details. And that speaks to what's going on in the country, where money can buy people. How is a terrorist, a bandit, even having the effrontery, the audacity to come online to do a live session? Live session. This is not a recorded session that was posted and, you know, shared. It's actually a live session, and you know, they're happy to share that. I want us to take a look at this live session for a bit, and then we'll be back.
Come across all no on this at one send by. So once a life, one day you are pay àwọn máa fún ẹni tó bá ti follow àwọn a máa fún ní owó. So èmi náà dẹ̀ follow wà lára àwọn tí ó follow àwọn bandits ni. O pé àwọn òbí ya pẹ́ nìyẹn kàn tó láti tax fund gbà. Mo follow máa yẹn. Ọmọ kékeré náà ti ẹ̀ ní young boy. So mo ìgbówó yẹn tán báyìí ní email wọlé. Ẹjọ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà, ẹjọ́ ẹ ṣàánú wa o, ẹ ṣàánú mi o. $100 million náà ní kí n mú wá o. $100 million náà ní kí n mú wá báyìí o. Ẹjọ́ ẹ ṣàánú mi o. Èmi náà gbowó mo wà ní life lánàá yẹn o. Ẹjọ́
how much Nigerians are so in abject penury. When you go out on the street, you can feel the hardship in the air. You can sense it, you can see it, you can feel it. And that's why when you come online and then a bandit says to you, oh, we're doing giveaway, people don't care. They lose the tiny bit of morality, or should I say sensibility, that they have, or the conscience. They lose it all when they think about money. And that's why every time we keep hearing this, this thing we call it? We call it stomach infrastructure, you know, where it's all about, oh, we give you rice here, we give you this there, and then you shut up. And that's why when you say a live session, and instead of it to call it out, a live session where you can trade, oh my goodness. And then you actually, we have a witness there. That's the young man, that video that we just watched, is actually saying that he was a beneficiary to this. So we have people on the streets, young people on the streets who should be in school that can't even afford to go to school. And a bandit is promising you 100,000 naira as giveaway. I really don't blame them, but it's really, really sad to see things like this happening in our society. But let's take a look at, the comments on social media and see how there's been a reignition of conversations about economic hardship and some of the lengths that Nigerians are willing to go in search of quick money. And it's a very sad situation. We'll take a look at some of the comments on social media and see how Nigerians are reacting to this. That's a comment from It's Miss Williams. It says, instead of criticizing hungry people, help them and provide opportunities in your little way. If you know the level of poverty Nigerians are going through, you would know. Capital God says, you can blame as you like now, since you can afford 3 square meals and have the privilege to a good job. You will always come online to talk about people trying to get their way out. You, that you're not a bandit. How many people have you helped so far? Look at that. Look at that. Now, Franklin says, like the partridge that gathers a brood that she did not hatch, so is he who gets riches, but not by justice in the midst of his days. They will leave him, and at his end, he will be a fool. Now, this person is putting a little bit of scripture here and there. That's Jeremiah 17, verse 11. But the second commenter really said something that struck me. But this final one says, wow, this is instructive. Our fave online doc has this to say. Yes, it's really instructive, because what does this tell us? It tells us about the society that we're in, a society where there's so much lack, where people lack any sense of the moral compass is missing. I was going to say that the moral compass is lacking, and that's why people don't have any sense of morality, any sense of being sensible. And that's why when you see something that you should call out, you're a part of it, because you're benefiting from it. You're benefiting from the 2 naira. You're benefiting. You complain about politicians, but how do you see a bandit online? How is a bandit even bold enough to be online, to do a live session? And we still have students right now, babies, children in Oyo State, and they have been unable, supposedly, to track them, or maybe they are unable to do what they need to do to get them out of that place. And we honestly hope to God that the lives of these children are still safe, the life of these parents is still safe, the lives of the teachers are still safe. They're still safe. The principal, we hope that they are safe. But then we're seeing someone online, bandit online, doing a giveaway, giving out money, and Nigerians are quick to jump on it. So when you open it, and you can't speak with 2 sides of a mouth, because when you come on social media to say, arrest this bandit, Nigerian politicians are not, Nigerian government is not doing enough, and then with that same hand, you are able to type your account details to somebody that is a bandit, it's really instructive. But I'll leave it there and go to our next conversation this morning. Finally, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned relationship coach and social media influencer Okoro Blessing in Kiruka, who is also known as Blessing CEO, over an alleged 69,150,000 fraud. Now, according to EFCC, she allegedly collected this money from Hope Chiropractic Health Clinic Limited after allegedly presenting herself as the owner of a property in Lekki. This property she leased to the company for a 5-year period. Now, she pleaded not guilty to the charges, and the matter is now before the court. But we'll see some of the thoughts on this issue, because honestly, I don't want to share my thoughts when it comes to Blessing CEO. Let's just take a look at the reactions on social media. That African blog says, Blessing CEO, they teach people relationship red flags. Meanwhile, EFCC is saying that she be the red flag. 69 million naira, no be beans. That's not influencer drama. That's a criminal allegation. Nigerians are gullible. I mean, it says a lot. Look at the bandit situation where you're sending your account details. What does it say? Well, an average Nigerian is corrupt, is very susceptible to corruption. Let's take a look at more reactions on social media. Rolling Martins Okon says, when your pattern cast, your own don't finish. But I don't even think this is a matter of your pattern cast. This is a matter of Nigerians have always known. Blessing CEO came to the limelight literally by faking our way through, lying our way through, claiming a house that was not hers, and people followed her. So that tells you something, because if I, as a person, I defraud people, right, to get ahead, and these same people that are condemning me go ahead to follow me and then start commending me, what does it tell me? It tells me, look, I'm on the right track. So it's not a matter of a pattern cut. It's a matter of Nigerians, the kind of things that Nigerians, you know, support, maybe knowingly and unknowingly. But it's really a sad situation. We'll take a look at one more comment on this situation, and then we'll move from there. Gist rather says, if found guilty, influencers should be held to the same standard as everyone else. Fame shouldn't be a shield. And I agree with that one. I don't know if you have more reactions to this conversation on social media, but it's when I talk about someone like a Blessing CEO, I shake my head. You know, it's one issue from one place to another. It's a trend. It's a lifestyle of just being lacking no decency as a human being. And I'll say that with everything in me. You should have some sense of decency. You know, coming online, she's the same person that she literally launched her career by faking a house and says, oh, this house is someone's property. That's the height of it. When it's someone's property, you took a picture and said it's yours. And somehow people followed you, and then suddenly you became a relationship instructor. The same relationship instructor you are, it's the same, you are in a relationship, supposedly, or in marriage with someone who was said to have abused his wife and led to her death, and then you went and married. So how is that person a relationship advice? But there are people listening to their advice. That's instructive, in the words of our fave doc. Now, this same person comes online and says, someone that already has a trend of always lying comes online and says, oh, she has cancer and all of that stuff. Not giving enough details for. And it also, when I say, when we use a line like instructive, it tells you a lot. Are we not educated enough? Are we gullible? Are we corrupt people? Do we lack a moral compass? Because she comes with no details enough, and people have already donated money. These are people that the people in their families are lacking. But they come on social media because they want to show themselves. People like social media attention. They like commendations from people that seem popular, even at no cost, because you should certainly stand for something. So it's really unfortunate, and EFCC certainly should get to the bottom of the matter. But that's why we leave it this morning on the social listening segment. We hope you enjoyed the stories, because I did, and I'm hoping that you join us again on Friday. Thank you so much. My name is Elizabeth Musa.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you. We go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind there. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was plenty of demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
But as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Luxury is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BZB Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw. I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
And real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on Business Day television.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.